Hey guys, welcome to another Thursday Live.
Hey guys, how's it going? We got some comments from your fans on ourthing.tv. The first one comes from Steve. It's a shout out. It says, "Yo Sammy, much respect, bro. My wife and I just became members, captain, and watched all your videos. We also love the gift shop. I'm asking that you just say hi to Crystal from South Philly. She thinks you're adorable and has fallen for your charm. Thanks, man."
Hiya, Crystal.
Next one up is from someone named Nick. He said, "How's everything, boss? If anyone can answer this, it's you. Are we living in a digital surveillance state? Even the Amazon Kindle records your locations just for reading an ebook. I'm not in the Mafia, but sometimes it feels like I'm a bad guy when I consider all the devices and services collecting and surveilling my whereabouts. I wrote a manuscript and I want to publish it into a book about how to delete and prevent these actions. Any advice on getting it published since I'm not famous and just a writer and digital privacy scientist?"
Not with me. I'm horrible with tech and writing books. I did one years ago. I'm considering another one, but I'm not working on it yet. Yeah, it's a tough world out there. Everything is cameras, microphones, checking, digital. It's crazy.
This one's from someone who's anonymous. They had no name. "Did Sammy know and like Charlie Carneglia? Does he have any stories about him?" And he also asked, "Did Charlie really dissolve bodies in acid?"
I don't know about dissolving bodies in acid. Charlie Carneglia was a good guy, a tough guy. He abided by the rules. He was in prison for a long, long time. I think he did it 30 years or something like that. I think he's out now and back with his family, and I wish him all the luck in the world. Good guy.
The first super chat of the day from RDT1809 says, "Hey Sammy, did you have any dealings with Benny Eggs Mangano of the Genovese family? I understand he was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross in World War II, and he was also well respected by all of the families."
He was the underboss for a while in the Genovese family. I knew him well. I dealt with him a lot of times. And yes, you know, there's a lot of Mafia guys who were in the military before they were in the Mafia. So, and a lot of them during the war, a lot of those guys joined up. And Benny was a good guy.
Antonio asked, "Sammy, when you and Frankie DeCicco were discussing all of the details involved with killing Paul, was it ever mentioned specifically that the position of underboss was more preferable than boss, and the reason why John was nominated as boss instead of Frankie? Or was it simply John's ego?"
It wasn't talked about a lot. Frankie DeCicco talked to me once. He said, "John is pretty smart. We could put him up front. He'll change his ways. If he doesn't change his ways, we'll kill him. I'll become the boss and you'll become my underboss." It was a very quick conversation. He had to change his ways. He never did, but Frankie got killed a couple of months after the Castellano hit.
I got a lot of people asking about Amena. Just so you guys know, she's totally fine. She's just out of the office today, that's all. Thank you for all the comments. We all love Amena here. Just want to let you guys know she's totally fine. Right, boss?
Yep.
Carmen Alicia Belcher on Our Thing asked, "Sammy, what's your Zodiac sign? Are you a Taurus?" He came back and said, "No, Sammy is a Pisces. According to numerology, he is a life path number 7, which means he is observant, analytical, fiercely loyal, and an independent thinker."
I'm a Pisces.
What do you think about the he's observant, analytical, and fiercely loyal?
Well, I could answer that. I think I am.
Antonio again. "Could you give a shout out to a friend of mine, Armando from Oxnard, California?"
Now you went through so many names. What's his name?
Armando.
All right, Armando.
F. Tagata 415. "Does he know anything on Frank Matthews, the black gangster who stayed by Paul, who went missing?"
No, I don't know if Frank Matthews, I know of him. I never knew him. I don't, when you say he stood by Paul, I don't, what do you mean by that? I never saw him with Paul.
We have another super chat from Neil, 2101. "Sammy, my cousin grew up in Howard Beach. He said Charles Carneglia was the boogeyman girls and kids were warned about. What was your relationship with him?"
I had a good relationship with him. I was super close with him. I didn't get along with his brother. I never really knew him well. I didn't like his brother too much, but I liked Charlie Carneglia was a good guy, loyal guy, tough guy. He had the whole package.
Crazy Andy Boston said, Sammy, did Nino care more about his blood family, Dom, or his Gambino family, Roy? What was his breaking point? What hurt Nino more, losing Roy or Dom?
I don't know. That's a tough question. I think he liked the both of them. Roy DeMeo was in his crew. He was his captain. He had to deal with him. But his family member, I think he was okay with him. Towards the end, there was some sort of thing. They thought he might have been cooperating. He got a little nervous. Nino would have never put up with it. But I think he loved his family and Roy DeMeo as well.
Solemn Vow asked, hello, boss. Do you think the mob turned Roy into a killer, or was he going to be one without it anyway?
Well, the mob didn't turn him into a killer, and he's not just a killer. A lot of mob guys were killers. Roy DeMeo became a serial killer. That was his problem. Not just that he was a killer. A lot of guys were killers. Most of the guys who were in the Mafia were killers. Most. But there's a difference between a serial killer and a killer.
Jonathan Dakin, he asked, were there many times when you considered taking out John for being indiscreet? And if you did, do you think that you would have been the boss even now?
No, I never thought about taking him out. I was loyal and it never entered my mind. Nicky Scarfo once told me that he talked behind my back, and if I needed his help, he was more or less saying if I wanted to take him out. And I said, no, listen, he's my boss. I love him. Whatever he said, he said. And would I have been the boss if Frankie was dead and John was dead? Probably.
Cheesy Potatoes. Hi, Sammy. Did you have Sunday dinner with your family growing up? What did your mom make?
Always Sunday dinners was a big thing in my house. Food, wine, drinking. Was a big thing, and I ate Italian food, whether it was lasagna, raviolis, whatever. It was always a pasta. It was always a second dish, which was chicken, veal, or something. There was always a beautiful table on Sunday. Sunday was our family dinner.
Hi, guys. I've got a couple questions here from socials. Sammy, let's start off with Kurt's question on TikTok. Do you think that Joe Pesci is the best mob actor ever?
I don't know about that. I like Joe Pesci. He's a good guy, but I don't think he's the best actor ever. But he was a great actor and a good guy personally. I know he was very friendly with Nick Pileggi and a lot of guys that I knew. But I never knew him personally. I
have user 6721. When was the first time you felt like a real gangster?
When I was born. I slapped the nurse on the ass when I was coming out.
There you have it, guys. Okay, Paul would like to know, do you know any Romanians linked to the mob?
There's a lot of them who are linked to the mob. I knew a few. One of them, I forget his name, but he was very close with Frankie Lucasio. And I knew some.
Would you say that Goodfellas is the most realistic mob movie ever?
Well, if not the closest, it's right up there with the top movies.
Von O'Block would like to know, what is the best way to deal with PTSD?
I mean, there's a lot of things, I was in the military. A lot of guys come home and have that. There's, counselors and people and organizations that work with you, and you come out of it. When you go to places and there's a lot of killings, a lot of different things, and they see weird shit, they wind up with PTSD. So there's a lot of places that could help you.
Joshua says, have you ever done any work in Boston, Massachusetts?
No.
I've got Mike. Does the Chicago mob still exist?
I'm not sure about that. I wasn't really close with them. I knew a few people. I knew some guys who came out later on in life. I met them, but I never knew them personally, a lot of them, most of them. So, and I don't know if it exists now.
From Laura, Sammy, is it true that Scarpa went down south to help the FBI during the KKK?
Yes, and in the movie they're showing that. I'm sure they're going to show that in the movie. I think the movie is based on that and his life story. And that's a big, thing in his life story. So I'm sure that you'll see it in the movie.
Ricky Bobby says, I named my pit bull after you. Much love, Mr. Gravano.
Thank you. Watch out he don't bite you.
Vinnie Clark, who did you fear the most in the family?
Good question. I didn't fear anybody. Listen, I'm a killer just like they are. We sat together. Most of us really got along. It wasn't a fear of Roy DeMeo, but I didn't trust him because he was a fucking lunatic. So it wasn't that I was afraid of him, but I was cautious with him. Because you never know what a serial killer is thinking. You might shake somebody's hand. Before you shake his hand, he might want to kill you for that. So it's not fear of him. It's try to understand a psychopath like that. So I was cautious with him, but I didn't fear him either.
Next question. Michael would like to know, why wasn't the Code of Omerta prized in the 80s like it was in decades before?
I don't know. It changed around laws, people's sentences, and betrayals of people. There was so many different reasons why it was broken.
Professional newsreader would like to know, Sammy, I know you once said that you couldn't squeeze Trump. How was he so insulated?
Well, Trump was a big builder. He had a lot of people around him, legitimate people, and he had, security. He was a wealthy guy. He had security. And a lot of them were ex-FBI agents who became security-minded, and he had those guys work for him. I don't think he was afraid of anything. I mean, if you look at him now, they tried to kill him 3 times, and he's still there. He was shot. He was picking up his arm. Trump is ballsy. He just didn't want to have anything to do with the mob, but I don't think he was afraid. He just ran his business the way it's supposed to be run, and he had a lot of money, so he had a security team around him. Not only that, because he was afraid, sometimes when you're that popular, you want to keep people away. Or I can go into a restaurant and have 6, 7, 8 people coming over, look at that, take selfies and stuff like that. So somebody had told me, maybe you get a couple of security guys just to keep that from happening. I don't want it. I'm not interested in that. I think if somebody wants a selfie, I usually give it to them. So I don't think it's a big deal. And so he had a lot of security around him. Not a lot, but he had enough where you couldn't just go over to him.
Good Stuff would like to know, what is the quickest way to make money as a mob guy?
Use your head. You have a lot of opportunities as a mob guy to make money. When you become a mob guy, especially a made guy, you could open up a pizzeria. A lot of guys will go there. A normal guy, you open up a pizzeria, you got to make great pizza and try to get the people from the neighborhood in. So these guys, they have one foot up. You're a made guy, you own a pizzeria. If I'm going to go buy pizza, I'm going to go to your place. It's just as easy as that.
We have Il Gatto. Salute Zusami. Did Mr. Vito Genovese have a good relationship with Murder Inc. and Meyer Lansky?
I think he had a pretty good relationship with Meyer Lansky and him. Yeah, I think he did.
Sonny Brown Boots. Who was the first hit you were assigned?
Joe Colucci. When I was an associate in the Colombo family, that was my first hit.
Cheesy Potatoes back in the comments with, did you ever have dinner with Paul Castellano? Do you feel bad about his death?
Well, most people, I feel bad about their deaths, but sometimes you bring it upon yourself, and that's the mob. You live by the gun, you die by the gun. I did have multiple sit-down dinners with him. I even ate in Sparks' restaurant with him, not when we killed him, but months before. It was a great steakhouse. He loved it. And I met him one time at Sparks Steakhouse, and I ate with him. And it wasn't just me and him, like buddies. There was 6, 7 of us, 5 of us, whatever. And I ate by his house a couple of times, and I was with him a lot.
Solemn vow again. Out of mob happy trigger people, racketeers, or simply just associates, who would last the longest usually in the mafia?
I don't know. Again, the mob is built on rules. Whether you're an associate, a made guy, a captain, a boss. The Mafia is made by rules. It's not what position could get killed easier. You do the right thing, you're not going to get killed. You do the wrong thing, you're going to get killed. Simple as that.
Matt, I have a follow-up question to the one that you just asked. David Katz would like to know who paid for the bill at Sparks Steakhouse when you had dinner with Paul Castellano.
Paul did. He wouldn't let you pay for a meal for him. He's the boss. He was a good boss in a lot of ways. He had a ton of money. He wouldn't let you pay.
Jonathan Dakin back in your super chat. Hi to you and Gerard. I love Underboss. A couple things. Let's go with the first one. Would Roy DeMeo have hired the Iceman?
No. My opinion, I don't think he even knew him. I'm almost sure. Because I got in trouble with the Iceman. He ratted on me. I got pinched. I found out a lot about him. I don't think he even knew him. And then he wouldn't Roy would never use him to do a contract. He had everybody around him was a killer. If he wanted to kill somebody, he certainly didn't need the Iceman.
He also asked, what was Chin like?
Tough guy. A guy by the rules. He was by the rules, but he was a tough guy. He didn't play games with you. I found him to be, I was in a bunch of sit-downs with him. I found him to be very fair. He didn't try to bully you or anything like that or use it. He was very fair. I think very honest when it came to the life. Stuck by the rules. But if you got in trouble with him, you had a problem.
The last question was, what is your favorite film?
I think Godfather 1 and Godfather 2 is my favorite film. I didn't like Godfather 3 at all. I liked Godfather 1 and 2. It really brought out what the life was, family life and all of these things. You know, even when somebody was getting married, the Godfathers was getting married and there was a bridesmaid in the bridal party and Sonny took her up to a room and was banging her in the room. That's just like us. I think I banged her, one or two myself, but that's just the way it was.
Sammy was there.
Sammy was in.
I was there. I mean, that's the way it was. We were rough and tumble. It was, the women around us were cool. They knew how we were,
Jimmy No Name here. Did you ever know about Frank Balistrieri in Milwaukee?
No.
Let's see. We also have Cheesy Potatoes again. What was it like being around Angelo Ruggiero? Was he your friend?
I was a friend of his as well, but he was a loudmouth. He was a little bit of a bully, but he was all right. He was what he was, a drug dealer. His brother was a drug dealer. His brother died, and he took over his business, which was a big heroin business, and he took over that business. But he was like a bully type of guy and a loudmouth. He spoke too much.
JV Weld, if a guy in your crew like Peruta or Stymie won the Powerball, would you have put him on the shelf or just expect a bigger envelope for Christmas?
I would have never put him on the shelf. Why would I do that? And I wouldn't expect anything. That's a legitimate thing. I'm sure, especially Stymie or Peruta, I would have wound up with a pretty good envelope from them, but it's not expected. It's not an illegitimate thing that I should get an envelope. It goes on, some things are legitimate, they're yours. You got a business or certain things, it's yours. So I wouldn't expect anything, but I'm sure knowing them, I would have got a pretty fat envelope. It depends on how much they would have hit for. Now, let me reverse that question. If I would have hit the Powerball, would they have gotten an envelope? Bet your sweet ass. I knew them. I loved them. I knew their families. Why wouldn't I? I was never greedy.
Change attitude to change habit in the super chat. It just says, tell Diana and Misty to get in the car.
Get in the car, Misty and Diana.
Callum Legit 8292. Sammy, you're getting on now and we love seeing you talk, but seriously, have you accepted Jesus? I don't like the thought of anyone going to hell.
Yeah. Well, I accepted Jesus. I've always believed in God and Jesus. But then I became a born-again Christian. I accept Jesus even more. When you say you're getting up in age and stuff like that, you see a fat girl, you never tell us you're fat. So when somebody's getting old, you don't tell them they're getting old.
He didn't say it specifically. He just said, you're getting on. I don't know.
Yeah, well, getting on, that's like telling a girl, she's chubby, are you pregnant? You don't do that shit.
Oh, boy. But I think he came from the heart with that one. He said, I don't like the thought of anyone going to hell.
No, I don't think I'm going to hell. I kind of like myself, what I become. I know I made mistakes. I know God knows I made mistakes, too many to count. But I think he knows what I am inside and out.
David Katz. Okay, so DB had a legitimate porn business. Why did he have to kick up for that?
Well, porn is not a legitimate business because he was so wealthy. Sometimes if you're making a lot of money, even if it's a legitimate business, there's nothing wrong with taking care of somebody you like or kicking up. When I do things now, if I make money I get to my team, sometimes I give them a little bonus. And they've done nothing to deserve it. I give it to them because they're my team and they work hard. And I'm not greedy. So DB wasn't greedy. So if he kicked up, that's fine. I want to clear that up. When he was in the porn business, he never made an X-rated movie or stuff like that. He was a distributor for porn. So people who made porn movies, he bought them and then distributed them all around the world. X-rated bookstores and stuff like that. He sold it to them. So he was a distributor. He could have made them if he wanted. He had the connections, but he just played the role as a distributor.
Roger says, rumor is it that Eugene the Animal was the one who took care of Danny Greene. What do you think?
I don't know. Danny Greene, I think, was a tough guy, Irish guy, and he went to war with the Mafia and he got killed. I don't know who Danny the Animal is, and even if I knew who he was, I don't know who killed him. From what I understand, they killed him. He used bombs, this Danny the...
Eugene the Animal?
No, the other guy.
Danny Greene?
Danny Greene used bombs. And they killed him that way. They put a bomb under his car and got rid of him. Same way, what he was doing.
I have a user on TikTok who says that you rented a house for my grandma in Chandler. She thought you guys were very lovely.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Question from Maddie. Do you watch the mob documentaries often, and are they true from a law enforcement perspective?
Some of them are true. Listen, movies are based on truth to be good. The people who make them, they know what entertainment they want to hear. So they put entertainment mixed in with it. So it's not that it's fake, but they're thinking about how the audience is going to enjoy it, stuff like that. So some things in there probably are not the truth. Some of the things in there are the truth. It's a combination of things that wins you over, like The Sopranos. Some things were actually true stories that they picked up, and some of them weren't. But it made a great movie. It's for people's enjoyment, movies.
David Katz back again. So let's say you had dinner with John Gotti. Would he cover the bill, or would you cover the bill?
Most of the time it was me covering the bill, but John Gotti didn't like to spend. He liked to collect, but he didn't like to spend. So most of the times, but he was loose with money too. It was just a matter of respect. I was there. I would get the waiter to give me the bill. And it was a respect thing. It wasn't, who was going to pay, stuff like that.
I've got a teacher in our chat. As a high school teacher who has an organized crime class, how should I discuss you?
With truth. If you know the truth, teach them the truth.
David Katz again. What did DB do that made him deserve to get what he got at the end?
Really, that was a whole scam with Angelo Ruggiero. I'd borrowed $250,000 off him. Told John, who was in jail at the time, that DB was talking behind his back. John sent out an order to kill him, and it had to get done. I questioned it. I liked DB a lot, and I told John, let's talk about it when you get out. What did he do wrong? I don't think he did anything wrong. And then he sent another message out to Joe Piney, who was the underboss at that time. And Joe Piney said, Sammy, he didn't want to hear it. Get it done. And I'm the one who killed him.
Tom Ricks, how many boxing matches did you have?
Well, I was an amateur boxer. I had a lot of them. I used to go to Gleason's gym and train. And part of the training, I would get a fighter and we would spar. We would fight together. So I had a ton of them. When I went into the military, I boxed in the military group. I really had a lot of boxing fights, but I never turned professional or did anything like that.